Guys, and welcome to Diabetic 365, and today we are going to discuss on the sugar substitutes or sugar sweeteners which you find when you visit a restaurant, all these blue packets and pink packets or the green ones on the coffee tables. So Jill is here with us to educate us on these sugar substitutes today. Hey Jill, welcome to the show.
Hi, I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much for being on the show. So what is the basic difference between the calorific sweeteners and the non-calorific sweeteners that you find in the market?
Okay, well, the non-caloric sweeteners, the ones you just mentioned in the yellow and blue and pink or green packets, provide either no calories or almost no calories and no carbohydrates or almost no carbohydrates. The others, that would be sugar, just regular table sugar, brown sugar, molasses, honey, agave nectar, anything like that. Those all have calories. It's about 15 grams of carbohydrate in a tablespoon and about 45 to 60 calories in a tablespoon. So that has to be accounted for. You can't, as somebody with diabetes, you can't just put that in your coffee or on your toast or something like that and assume all is fine, because it will raise your blood sugars.
Next question is, we have different types of these non-calorific sweeteners in the market. One is sweet and low brand. The second one is Equal, Splenda, or Truiva. So what are the basic different types, or what is the basic difference between 3 or 4 types of these non-calorific sweeteners?
Okay, well, the pink packet is sweet and low, and that's saccharin. It's been around for years and years and years. Many years ago, a couple decades ago, it was taken off the market for a short time because it caused some tumors, cancerous tumors in rats. But it's been back because it's been approved because of the amount that we consume is so small that there's a 100-fold safety margin for all of our artificial sweeteners. So it's considered to be safe. So that one is back. And Equal is in the blue pack, and that is a combination of 2 amino acids. So that is fine for most everybody. The only group of people who should be concerned about that one is somebody with PKU. And everybody with PKU, I'm sure at this point, knows that they have it, so it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. And that person with PKU would not have it because they cannot handle the amino acid phenylalanine. And then what is phenylalanine?
What is PKU?
PKU is a genetic, it's an inherited disease where somebody cannot handle that amino acid, and so they're put on from birth a low phenylalanine diet, and they're on that diet for their whole lives. So they know it. It's not a surprise because it gets diagnosed at birth.
And next one is the Splenda.
Right, Splenda, that's the yellow packet, and it's also called Sucralose. It's great for baking. Basically, that is the sugar molecule that's just been altered slightly. So it tastes a lot like sugar, but it doesn't get broken down, and it doesn't get absorbed for the most part. So we get the taste without the calories and the carbohydrates. So it's very similar to sugar, but again, like I said, the chemical structure was slightly altered. Sometimes it comes in a blend. So it might be a Splenda sugar blend, in which case you have to be very careful to count those calories and those carbohydrates.
Okay.
And then the last one is the green pack, and that would be the Stevia plant, and you would find that as Truiva or Purevia. Both of those are on the market, and they also have a very nice flavor, and it's just from the Stevia plant. So a lot of people like that since it seems to be a little bit more natural.
More natural. Okay. So here's a basic question. I know that many people tend to use Splenda when they bake some kind of nice pies or other things. And what is this 4 different types? When can be they used at their best? like Splenda for baking, and for coffee, what do you recommend? So any kind of difference when you're using these products in different places or in different items or in the recipes?
Well, my preference if I'm baking is Splenda. And I have used Splenda and Truiva in quite a number of things. I think both of them are really, really good mixed in yogurt to make a smoothie. So really it just comes down to preference, but I do think that Splenda is probably one of the best for baking. It's heat stable, and I think it does very, very well.
So even non-calorific sweeteners, there should be a count of how much you take, right? So what is the average amount of these non-calorific sweeteners do you recommend for a diabetic in a daily diet?
Well, in terms of safety, there's no way anybody's going to have anywhere near the amount that's been approved. So the FDA, approved these sweeteners, or else they're considered just generally recognized as safe. And by getting those labels, then we know that it's about 100-fold difference of what we might consume until it becomes a safety hazard. But that being said, I still think it's a good idea to use it infrequently, certainly not more than a couple of times a day. Because if you think about it, when we're having a lot of sweeteners, we're usually having it in foods that aren't so great for us anyway. Other than coffee or tea, which I think is just fine. But, sometimes we use it in, like lemonade drinks or fruit punch. Doesn't really provide anything for us nutritionally, just, the fluid. Or we're having it in cookies, or, if you're baking something in a cake. Just generally, it's not the most nutritious foods. So, that's why I think it's a good idea not to have it more than a couple times a day. Now, the studies do not bear out that it causes increased hunger and that it causes weight gain. So we hear that sometimes on the internet, but when you look at the full body of research, the studies don't show that. So I'm not worried about that. But if we're always in the, tasting something sweet, then, maybe you're not expanding your palate enough and, having enough whole grains and having enough vegetables and things like that. So that's my only concern about having too much, is that it means that maybe you're not eating other things that are better for you.
So here is a basic question. When I go to any restaurant, I see these 4 packets there, right? When I sit at the dinner table, if I'm a diabetic, which one is the best one to mix in my lemonade, and which one is best to mix it in my any recipe or entree?
Well, that's an easy answer because it's just a matter of your preference. They're all going to be safe. Now, I would have my favorite, so I would automatically pick for one, but you might have a different favorite, and we're both right.
Okay, so everything is the same.
Pretty much they are. If you're going to put it in your coffee or put it in your iced tea or something like that, or make lemonade, yeah, they're pretty much, it's just a matter of what you prefer.
Okay. So here is another interesting question. Are there any kind of side effects of me using, non-calorific sweeteners for my 20 or 30 years of diabetes life? Because my question is, because it's the basic similar sugar molecules which are chemically altered, right? So if you keep using them for longer periods of time, for 20 or 30 years, are there any kind of side effects?
Well, I can only answer in regards to what we have available in the scientific literature. And again, I'll say what I had said before, is that there's 100-fold safety. So you would have to, on a daily routine, have 100 times what we would have on a normal circumstance for your lifetime in order for it to be considered harmful. Now, everybody feels a little bit differently about putting different chemicals into their bodies, and I respect that 100%. So my advice then is mix it up. Use Splenda sometimes, Truiva sometimes, sweet and low sometimes, and that way you're getting less dose overall. So regardless of what we're consuming, the poison is in the dose. Okay. So, if you have a lot of something, it has that potential to be more harmful than if we have just a small amount. Mm-hmm. So if you want to reduce your risk even further for your own comfort level, then I would just recommend mixing it up, and having some in your coffee and a different kind in your tea, or you buy one package 1 week or 1 month, and the next month when you go grocery shopping, you buy a different packet. Mm-hmm. Personally, I'm not concerned because of that 100-fold safety factor.
Okay. Thank you so much, Jill, for being on the show and sharing your thoughts on this sugar sweeteners and sugar substitutes. And you have a nice day. Thank you for your thoughts.
Thank you.